Yo, what's good, everybody? Today we're continuing our series of building a pool 1 and pool 2 deck around one very strong pool 3 card. If you're early on in pool 3, this will help you out big time. Plus, we have the upgrades to those decks using pool 3 cards. We have two different versions of each deck and the upgrades to go along with them. So before I start explaining the decks, let me explain Magneto himself, because Magneto is probably my favorite 6-drop from pool 3 that I've gotten so far. I've been using the upgraded versions of these decks to move up in ranks quickly. A lot of it is due to Magneto's insane 12 power and his on reveal, which moves all opposing 3 and 4 cost cards to this location. Your opponents are not going to expect you to move their cards from one location to the other. This really works out well in a number of ways. The first is that 12 power may very well be good enough to actually win that location even when we're dragging along more cards. The second is maybe I sacrifice that location but drag my opponent's cards out of there, knowing that I'm gonna lose this location but instead win the other two as a result of that. It also hits opponents unexpectedly when you play at a location like Atlantis. Maybe they have Namor there, maybe they have a really strong card there, and then you pull in more people to their location and they lose that +5 power. Or you take Storm out of the location that she flooded and they lose the location that way. Magneto is really an incredibly versatile card. I just wanted to explain the many ways that Magneto could win you an entire game before we jumped into it, because there's two different ways that I like to play these Magneto decks. And as you can see below, the first way to do it is with a destroy deck. Magneto works really well with destroy cards. Of course, we've got our standard pool 1 and pool 2 destroy cards with Carnage, Bucky Barnes, Nova, Deathlock, Killmonger, and Angel. I don't have to explain to you how destroy elements work at this point in the game. We all know how well they really do, but the reason they tend to work with Magneto is because Carnage is in there buffing himself up, killing your Nova, giving all the cards around you +1 power. Bucky Barnes is out there with his 6 power Winter Soldier. Killmonger is adding a control element to what you do. There aren't too many negatives to having Killmonger in this deck. Yeah, occasionally he'll kill your Angel, but really Angel is just there for Carnage to eat. The common theme in all 4 of these decks is that we're going to be using a lot of disruption type cards. So we got Storm out there, then you drop Jessica Jones right in there, and it's the standard take over a location with Storm Jessica Jones that everybody uses. We've also got Shang-Chi and Enchantress for controlling the game a little bit more, killing those big cards or those ongoing effects that are going to ruin your plans. And the last card I have in this destroy deck is Claw, and Claw is a really solid 5 power drop that gives you +6 power to the location to the right. When Magneto drags your opponent's cards to his location, sometimes he's going to end up losing it by 1 or 2 points, and Claw just gives us an extra couple of power to that side to kind of give us insurance that we could still win the location. And the second version of this pool 1 pool 2 mix with Magneto deck is right below, and I call this more of the control version of the deck. Even though there were control cards in the destroy deck, this focuses way more on disruption and control. And of course, our 5-drop is going to be Professor X, who is a necessity for any type of controller disruption deck. We also have another 5-drop that's Hobgoblin, who is basically another disruption card from pool 2. And we also have Scorpion, Korg, and Iceman, who are 3 of the most important control and disruption cards that you have for a low cost. The only other unique card from this deck to the destroy deck is Angela, and Angela is just there to just keep you boosting a certain lane. I find it a lot harder to use her in a destroy deck using pool 1 and pool 2 cards. I will show you how she's a little more useful in the destroy archetype in pool 3. And the last 6 cards in this deck are just the same as they were in the destroy deck. You got Storm, Killmonger, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, Jessica Jones, and obviously Magneto. We already went over how those guys work in the destroy deck. They're gonna work the same way here. So those are our pool 1 and pool 2 cards that build a really great deck around Magneto. But what if you're a little deeper in and you've got a bunch of pool 3 cards? Well, this is where I'm really excited to explain it to you, because this deck below is my destroy deck in pool 3. Of course, I don't quite have Venom or Death or Deadpool yet, but when I do, I'll find a way to kind of play around with them. But realistically, I don't know that I would add them to a Magneto deck. This destroy package right here works incredibly well. The one card I would like to add in that isn't here is Mysterio. But all in all, the important updates that we have to the destroy element is basically only the Hood, and the Hood is a filthy card. He might have -2 power when he first gets dropped, but he puts this 6 power demon in your hand, and that changes the complexion of the entire game, because now you can use Angela in your destroy decks. You destroy one location, but you got Angela in another, and then you drop the demon in the Angela lane, and all of a sudden that's an extra 8 power for only 1 energy. The other upgrades to this deck are surprisingly control elements. We did have some control in the earlier pool 3 destroy deck, and now we got Daredevil as an upgrade, and now we can add Professor X to the mix. If you saw my Daredevil video, you know that he works incredibly well with Professor X and of course Gamora. And Gamora is an unbelievable card in this deck, and I'll tell you why. On turn 6, I don't necessarily need to play Magneto. If I'm winning in one location and I'm trying to go for the second location on turn 6, instead of playing Magneto, sometimes I'll throw Gamora out there, because I know that if my opponent plays a card in the same location, Gamora is gonna have the same power as Magneto, but will also have a chance to play this 6 power demon on the 6th turn alongside Gamora in the same lane to give an extra boost just in case they Shang-Chi her or something like that. The Gamora demon combination is an unbelievable one. Most of the time your opponent forgets that demon even exists in your hand, because you either destroyed the Hood or it came out on turn 1 and your opponent just wasn't thinking about it. I really love saving demon for the perfect moment to both possibly play him on turn 6 and to avoid Killmongering him. And our final Magneto deck that's updated to include more pool 3 cards is gonna be this disruption deck that's right below me. And I know what you're thinking, it's very similar to the destroy deck. Well, that's the thing, is that they both function very differently, but they're both effective at what they do. Once again, we have the Daredevil, Professor X, Gamora combinations, along with, of course, Storm and Jessica Jones, with Shang-Chi and Enchantress's protections. But instead of the destroy cards, we have cards like Polaris that really ruins your opponent's day, especially if Fisk Tower is out there. There's a number of ways I like to really use Polaris. I like to drag a lot of 1 and 2 drops into the negative zone. If he drops Angela on turn 2 and then he plans on dropping another 2 or 3 cards on turn 3, then we just drag Angela to the other side of the board. Your opponent starts filling up one location on the board, then on turn 3 I drop Polaris in the same exact location, drag another card there. Now all of a sudden he's got 3 cards in the same lane, and he thought he was going to be able to overpower it, but really it's just another squirrel. Polaris is just so disruptive, and when I first pulled her I was upset that I got her, but I have enjoyed using her so much. And the last 3 disruption cards are all from that pool 1 pool 2 deck. We got Scorpion, Iceman, and Korg. They mitigate power, they ruin their card draw, they prevent them from playing certain cards on certain turns. This deck as a whole just really works out well together. Of course there's there's gonna be a few specific upgrades that I want to add to the deck once I get these cards from pool 3, and that's gonna be Arrow. Arrow works incredibly well alongside Magneto. She would probably fit into either the Destroy or the Disruption deck, but really she is a perfect card for the Disruption deck. And the other card I'd love to see for the Disruption deck is gonna be Kingpin. Kingpin would do a lot of work on turn 6 once you drop Magneto in that location. Your opponent may think they're about to win the game, and instead you just destroy all their cards along with their hopes and dreams. I highly recommend that you try out all 4 of these decks. If you're early in pool 3, try out the first 2. If you're further along in the collection, try out the other 2. They're really solid decks. Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like to see me play with some of these decks. I will put up a video, or let me know some cards that I can add to the decks. And you can catch me on Twitch. I'm on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern time. I'd love to see you there. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful weekend.